This is Paul Votary of Vocal Scat Workshop, and I'm sitting down now with Dee Daniels.
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing just great, thank you.
Good, good. And I'm looking forward to our next workshop, which is going to be on February 6th. And I'll give you some more details about that later. And Tony Jefferson will be joining us on that one. But I want to spend a special time with Dee Daniels right now. What do you think about that?
You know, I always like to spend time with you.
Good, good, good. Yeah. So, could you give us just a little bit about your background and just about your singing, and then how you eventually came into doing some vocal scat?
Okay, well, I started out singing in church. My stepfather was a Baptist minister in Oakland, California, and in those days, if any black minister had children, at least one was going to sing in the choir. So I was elected, selected, forced to, whatever. Okay. But it provided me with a very solid foundation in singing and then just in life in general. And though I had not planned to get into singing, my passion growing up was art. So my degree was in art education, and I did teach for a short time in Seattle, Washington, one of the high schools. But my true calling of music won out, and I quit teaching in the middle of the school year and got into music, joined a band that was already in existence, and never looked back.
Never looked back.
For me, though, jazz music was an evolution. The first band I was with was rock and roll and R&B, and then I went from that into pop. But you know, in those days when there was plenty of work, I was working 6 nights a week, week after week, and just to keep myself from being bored, you know, I just changed the melody. I just played with it. I didn't know that was called improvisation, you know, until the media started reporting me as a jazz singer. I said, "What are they talking about?" You know, and one of my mentors in the Seattle area, this old musician, I went to him about that because I was upset about it, you know, and told him, and he said, he looked at me, of course, like I was kind of nuts, and said, "Girl, you know, you ought to consider this a compliment. You know, jazz is the American art form. You know, you just need to know more about it." So I had started to study, to listen, and I listened and listened, and talking to people, and got my first jazz gig there in Seattle at a place called Parnell's, and never looked back. Shortly after then, I left Seattle and went to Europe, where I lived for about 5 years in Holland and Belgium. And it was actually there that I was able to hone the craft of jazz. It was there that I had an opportunity to meet and perform with jazz legends like Hank Jones, his trio, Tommy Flanagan, his trio, Roland Hanna and his trio, Monty Alexander and his trio, all kinds of horn players, you know, Harry Sweets, Edison, Al Gray, Al Cohn, you name it.
And my bass teacher, John Clayton.
Yeah, John Clayton and I, well, John was living in Europe, in Holland at the time. You know, we were there. So John's actually on my very first jazz album, you know. And since then, I mean, John and I have written tunes together. We've worked together. I've worked with his big band. You know, we're just very good friends on and off stage. And I consider him like my brother.
Yeah.
But so, you know, I've had an opportunity to work with all kinds of people, and not just there, but you know, once I returned to Europe, to Canada, I was living in Canada at the time, and that continues on. You know, I've worked with Christian McBride, Russell Malone, Toots Thielemans, and I've recorded with some of these people, Lionel Hampton, all the great piano players here, Kenny Barron, Mulgrew Miller. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity, and I continue to do that. And now, of course, I'm working also my favorite bass player, Paul.
My favorite singer, Dee Daniels.
You know, okay, so the love fest goes on. But, you know, so, and I've been living here now in New York for just over 2 years. I based myself here, and I work out a lot out of New York. But you know, getting around here and hooking up with guys that I know and have worked with, and meeting new people all the time. You know, so it's great. But you know, how does all this stuff relate to scat? Well, for me, what I've learned about scat is I approach it from the point of view that it is a continuation of the story that you're sharing, you know, of the song. What I've done with myself, and I encourage my students to do, is to replace the word singer with the word storyteller, and the word song with the word story. So I am a storyteller telling a story or having a conversation. Well, you have the body of the song. The songs have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for me, the scat is a continuation of the story, but without words. So there has to be meaning to it. What that means is you have to have determined what the story is about in the first place, even to share the words, right? And once you determine what the story is about, the sentiment, the feeling, the emotion of it, the history of it, because it's all about imagination, right? Then you can better formulate a scat that also has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know, so then it becomes a part of the melodic structure of the song. It's not separate from it, just because all of a sudden you don't have words, so you can just go crazy. No, it's based on the chordal structure of the song. It's based on the melody of the song, and you have to determine, well, what is it that you want to convey when you're scatting without words. You know, so there's emotion without words too, you know. So yeah, so I think when people understand that it is not, scat is not a separate entity from the song or the story, then it kind of helps them formulate, well, you think about it, well, where do I want to go? What do I want to say? Right. How many notes do I need to use to say something or to convey a feeling and emotion, you know, based on the decisions I've made about the story.
Yeah, and that's I like that you said decisions, because as you're talking, thinking about the times that I might be getting ready to take a solo, and it's just instrumental solo on the bass, and or a scat solo, because I'm working on my singing.
That's right. That's right. He is.
I'm joining you. At times, I can envision the structure of the solo, like where I'm going to start, where it's going to be going, and back. I might just not necessarily know all the details in between, but I might have an architecture in my head before, you know, note number one starts out. So, but there's other times when it's just straight up inspiration and just experience to know to go from one place to another and back. You know, and so are you pretty much having the same experience where it can be either an architecture already done or just inspiration and an experience that leads you on?
Well, the one thing about jazz is it gives you the opportunity to be in the moment, hence improvisation. Who knows? But what helps with what you're saying is there is a melodic structure already in place. There's a format, you know. So that is your guideline, you know. And when you understand the chordal structure, all those things will lead you spontaneously. You know, to create something. So it's not like you just went out there and say, okay, you know, I have so many bars to go ahead and create something, you know. But no, these things all provide you with guidelines. The format of the song, the melodic structure, the chordal structure, but also the fact that hopefully you have decided what you're trying to say in the first place with the story. You know, okay, because some stories, some songs, some stories are have a darker tone, a sad tone, you know, and some have more happy, bright, you know. So the series of notes that you choose in your scat version of the wordless version of the song are not going to be light and bright and all over the place if you're talking about something that you're hurting inside, you know. Right. And then there's also, you know, one of my most favorite singers when it comes to what you can do with a word, okay, was the great Carmen McRae. To me, she was the word meister. The woman could take a word and milk it. Oh. All the nuances that you've never even thought about that could possibly exist in that word, and then a syllable within the word, you know. So, I mean, these are the kind of things you can do also with scat. You know, they don't have to be pure, straight tones. You know, you can take a tone, you know, that is nice, round, and pure, that has some weight, some mass to it, and you can make it lighter. Ooh, yeah, you know, there's all kinds of things you can do, but you have to experiment with your own voice. Right. And then you have to have experienced people here. No, you know, listening is very, very important too. You know, I mean, because there are some wonderful examples of scat solos performed by singers, but also musicians, you know, instrumentalists, that is. You know, so listening is so important, you know, and if you're going to do it, you might as well listen to the best, you know. And one of the examples that I like to use is Sarah Vaughan's, it's from the Live at Tivoli CD, and it's Sassy's Blues. Because if you can start learning how to improvise, create a scat solo over the blues, that you will develop a solid foundation for scatting over any song. Right. You know, and the way she outlines that song, because the whole song is just scat, right? Is so simple, you know, that I promise you, if you just take a listen to it.
Now we're going to be actually going over that, right?
We're going to be going over that in detail. In detail. We'll break it on down and analyze the whole thing.
Great. So, obviously there's more, but I'm glad you got a chance to get a little bit of Dee Daniels right now. There's a whole lot more. Of course, her records are great. Well, thank you. New one coming out soon. When's your new record coming out?
I don't have a release date for it, but it's called Intimate Conversations.
And I've heard some of the tracks. It's, yeah. It's happening.
Well, thank you.
Of course. I'm looking forward to our next show, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Always.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so, folks, February 6th, with Dee Daniels and Tony Jefferson, we'll be doing another vocal scat workshop. I hope you enjoyed this. Any last words?
No, I'm looking forward and hope to see you all there. We'll have some fun and learn a lot of stuff, I think.
Definitely, definitely. A powerhouse of information. All right, take care of yourself. See you later. Bye.